Anime isn't scary is a general consensus that I happen to agree with. There's just something about this medium that doesn't mix well with horror, and I feel the reason for this boils down to what makes something scary in the first place. If I asked you what the most terrifying thing you could ever experience was, what would your answer be? Could it potentially be falling from a tall building, waiting to reach the floor? Drowning in a body of water, unable to reach the surface? Maybe being pursued by a relentless killer? Bottom line, whatever your answer is, it will most certainly stem from that feeling of helplessness. Being in a situation that you have no control over and unable to make a choice that will get you out of it. And this is something I feel anime is rarely able to capture well. However, with ReZero's newest season, there was a scene that I feel captured this feeling of helplessness perfectly. A scene that feels raw, filled to the brim with tension and unease that's so immersive you feel like you're experiencing that dread in person. The atmosphere is suffocating while throwing everything at you at once, making it hard to breathe. And above all else is without a doubt, terrifying. The scene begins with Ram waking an unconscious Subaru in what seems like an underground tunnel. For context, the whole group got separated, leaving Ram and Subaru along with Echidna and Patricia, who we encounter later, alone in this unfamiliar place. The ground is enveloped in sand with these ruins that look like they were made hundreds of years ago. Each step taken has so much weight behind it, emphasizing the gravity of this dire situation. Subaru begins to panic as he realizes Rem, who's unable to defend herself, is nowhere to be seen, and as Rem's trying to calm him down, he utters a line full of pure emotion that sparks the slow but gradual decline in their mental state. Do you even care that Rem's in danger? Words born from pure desperation that shows little care for the person that it's being directed towards. However, from Rem's words and her reaction, we see in her eyes how desperate she truly is and could break at any moment. The next shot symbolizes this perfectly. When talking about composition, there are multiple rules that are followed. The focal point being Subaru and Rem is visually shown to us through the lighting. Everywhere else in this tunnel is dark, with the sole exception of a lantern that shines behind our characters. Their footsteps act as a direction that our eyes naturally follow. If that was it, then this shot wouldn't feel as uneasy as it does. Looking at it again, the shot is slightly tilted to the left, which creates this unnatural sense of discomfort. By having this bit of debris on the bottom left, it acts as a physical object that's weighing the scene down, making everything disjointed and uneven. There's no balance or stability to it, which perfectly reflects Subaru and Rem's current situation, and more accurately, their current conversation. And finally, looking into the way space is used in this shot. Positive space refers to an area given around your subject. So in that case, it would be Subaru and Rem, seeing as they're the objects that should be focused on. And negative space refers to everything around the subject, that being the background. The way in which negative space is used in this shot is vast. The characters themselves barely cover the screen. They're quite literally being enveloped by their surroundings. It creates this unnerving sensation as you can truly feel the isolation these two characters are going through. The further you look out, it's a mystery. It's completely pitch black, leaving you wondering what could possibly be further on, or even who could possibly be watching. I also want to mention the way these two are positioned. By having them close together, unable to clearly see one of the two, it feels awkward. It feels vulnerable. When two people interact, you'd expect to see them individually. Even if you aren't shown their faces, you can still understand this simply because it's natural. But this framing is completely abnormal, which elevates the negative space even further because this sense of vulnerability complements that sense of isolation you get from the background. This type of discomfort is exactly what this episode is trying to create, and the sensation is still present throughout. We can see the tension between the two starting to fade as Echidna, the artificial spirit inside Anastasia, and Patricia make an appearance out of the blue. This sudden appearance sort of alleviates this unease we were just experiencing as they now tread along the unknown trying to find the others. Everything seems like it's heading towards a more hopeful direction as Subaru remarks at Ram's words in a sort of worried yet joking tone. However, while this is happening, the scene cuts to a wide shot of the characters walking away into the unknown with bits of sand slowly coming into focus. While this might not seem like anything important, it's weirdly familiar. Almost as if it's an hourglass slowly counting down to something that at this point we don't know. With how tense and unsettling everything's been so far, it creates this sense of urgency that whatever's going to happen probably won't end well. While Subaru's trying to keep a positive outlook on the situation, it's hard when he's being berated by Ram's remarks. While they are talking to each other, the things that are important aren't the words being spoken, but more so the intention behind them. While Ram comes off as rude towards Subaru, almost as if she's looking down on him, it's confirmed by Echidna that it's not necessarily that she's trying to hurt his feelings, but more so that this is the only way she knows how to cope with this anxiety she feels not being by Ram's side. Despite Subaru understanding this, we can see from his facial expressions that this still gets to him to a certain degree. The tension between Subaru and Ram is still present, with Echidna being the middle ground keeping everyone calm. This is visually shown to us by having her in between the two, acting as a sort of barrier, shielding the tension and keeping the morale high. Until suddenly the group reaches a crossroads of two diverging paths. Subaru references Sigmund Freud, a neurologist who proposed the idea that when faced with a choice of a similar manner to this, the subconscious tends to favor the left path. His theory is that people's subconscious gravitates towards the easiest path out of convenience and habit. By choosing to go against your instincts, you're challenging the mind to resist the easier option, making it seem like less of a whim and more like a rational decision. However, when you look into the teachings of Sigmund Freud, you find that he never actually said any of this. This whole concept of favoring the left path is actually a misconception. There's no difference between the subconscious choosing either direction. Now, this could be interpreted as Subaru being desperate and masking this with pop culture that no one else would understand. Worrying isn't gonna get you anywhere, but by effortlessly choosing the right path, it feels rushed, as if he doesn't understand the weight behind this choice. And coincidentally, we're shown this weight through their footsteps. It's slow and heavy, as if each step forward is getting harder and harder. We're starting to feel the weight behind Subaru's careless decision. And now the orientation of the characters has shifted. Echidna, who was once positioned in the middle, is now on the right, slightly further back from the rest. The one who was supposed to act as a barrier to keep morale high is now becoming as dejected as the rest. Ram and Subaru are next to each other, with him moving forward towards the appearance of this iron wall. From everyone's facial expressions, they seem disappointed, which is natural. An unknown wall has appeared out of nowhere, making this whole journey so far a waste. Everyone with the sole exception of Subaru. For some unknown and mysterious reason, his first instinct was that this wall was actually a door. No one in their right mind who's first encountering something like this would ever come to the conclusion that this is actually a door. And the others naturally call him out on this. Subaru seems confused, almost as if Echidna and Ram are weird for thinking otherwise. And just like that, by simply touching the door, it suddenly disappears. That entire interaction is so interesting to me, and if you guys want to hear my thoughts about it in another video, let me know. After encountering another door, things seem to be shifting. Ram and Echidna, who so far have been attentive of what's going on, seem to be out of it. Their reactions have become slow as Subaru calls out to them. It's as if they were in a trance. While things aren't normal, it's not as if anything bad has happened yet. However, instantly after, everything's more off than they've ever been. The music suddenly becomes erratic. It looks like everyone's on the verge of collapsing. The amount of time they've been walking through this tunnel is unknown. However, with it still showing no signs of changing, it's as if this place is never ending. We get a conversation that mimics an earlier one towards the beginning of the episode. Subaru again tries being positive about the situation, and again Ram remarks at him, yet this time it feels off. Before, it felt like she was trying to cover her anxieties, yet this time it feels like she's trying to hurt Subaru for his actions. Echidna again tries to be that middle ground between the two. However, it was shown to us visually earlier and onwards that this role went away a while ago, and we physically see this through her words. Before, she was understanding of Ram and expressed this towards Subaru, but this time she's the complete opposite, telling him that nothing he'll say to Ram will go through, basically calling her irrational due to her irritated state. If you're not paying attention, these two scenes don't feel all that different. They both have a character being positive, then another knocking them down, and a third party trying to keep the peace. But it's the intention behind what's being said and their actions that couldn't be any more different. On the surface, it seems like everyone's acting in character, however they're doing and saying things with an intention that's completely out of character. And as if to throw it in your face how unnatural everything's becoming, Subaru throws away the only source of water the group has. And he does this as if it's normal. This vital piece to keep everyone alive is being discarded for no good reason at all. Everything is becoming worse and worse as time goes on. And what makes this feel so eerie is that we're left in the dark just as these characters aimlessly push forward towards the unknown. We don't know what's happening, and this just makes everything worse. With nothing to blame for this unnatural situation and keeping the audience out of the loop, this sense of dread is multiplied. And with no time to process what's going on, we instantly cut to Subaru freaking out over another iron door that won't open. Every other door so far they were able to pass through with ease, but now they've truly reached a dead end. Subaru's anger extended well past the door and also reached towards the others. ReZero has always been amazing at this, and it's something I haven't mentioned yet that's been present throughout this entire episode, but the facial expressions are top notch. They're so clear that you can truly feel each individual emotion being conveyed, and right now it's at its best. The tension that's been building up between Subaru and Ram has finally snapped. Subaru's going off his head in pure frustration, demanding Ram to tell him what her deal's been this entire time, and nothing's gonna get in the way of that. I feel what makes this argument between the two so compelling is that it's not just mindless nonsense. They aren't just yelling at each other for the sake of yelling. While they are acting completely out of character, their worries and issues they have with each other doesn't feel out of place. Just as Subaru calls out Ram for everything that's happened, Ram calls out Subaru for saving her instead of Rem, simply because she was the closest one to him, and how he's too impulsive who always acts first and thinks later. This isn't wrong, but she keeps pushing and pushing, and as if to come full circle, she utters a line full of pure emotion that has finally ended this slow but gradual decline in their mental state. You don't actually care about Rem at all, do you? This causes Subaru, who was already slipping, to finally break. He attacks Ram with invisible providence and immediately afterwards starts choking her to death. I love the way they use lighting in this shot. While Subaru is blaming Ram for all of this, we see their shadows, and the way Subaru looks here makes him feel as if he isn't human, but a monster wearing the clothes of one. Watching Ram struggle for her life is horrible. Her expression is so well crafted, it's almost as if we're the ones who are being choked out and there's nothing we can do about it. And just as it seems like it's over, with her final breath she chants her signature spell Fura that launches Subaru away, saving her life in the nick of time. Now everything's turned into this greyish colour. It gives off this vibe you'd only get in pure darkness, which is poetic seeing as everything's unfolded in a way that makes this entire situation unsalvageable. Or it could just simply be because the only light source they have right now was blown away by Ram. Now it seems like Subaru and Ram are about to enter a fight that'll only end with one of the two dying, but Echidna, the person who was originally trying to keep the peace, actually sticks to her role, but not in the way anyone expected. Echidna heartlessly drives a knife through Ram because she knows that Subaru in the end will be the one who's more helpful in this situation. The way she moves and the way she talks doesn't feel right. While at the time she seemed like the most normal out of the three, now she looks like this unhinged psychopath that could at any moment decide to also murder Subaru just as she did to Ram. While it looks like he's about to take her out, Ram does the job for him in probably one of the most brutal ways anyone has died in the show. Anastasia begging for her life as she clings to Subaru is hard to watch. What makes this worse is that it's shown to us in the first person perspective. We're seeing this from Subaru's eyes, and it's so immersive that it feels like she's talking directly to us, the audience, declaring that she doesn't want to die with the most horrific expression. Even as Subaru throws her off him into the floor, we can still see she's still alive, trying to reach her hand out as he runs away in fear. We finally get color again, seeing as Subaru found the lantern that was blown away earlier. However, as he moves on from that horrific scene he just saw, he encounters the last and final person who was with them. We see Patricia hovering over Ram, but we aren't shown directly what's going on, but we can interpret it through the sounds of bones breaking and flesh being torn apart. And as Subaru's demanding for her to come to him, our fears are confirmed as we see pink hair all around Patricia's mouth. She starts laughing as she approaches, and without even enough time to blink, she launches herself towards the screen, instantly fading to black. And just as we're expecting Subaru to return by death, the screen stays black. And before you can even start to become confused about what's going on, it cuts to the aftermath of Patricia having eaten Subaru's head clean off. This was terrifying, and I don't just mean the final part of Subaru being eaten, but all of it, from start to finish. The way everyone interacted and how it would eventually contrast each other later on. The way the story was told to us visually and how it gave us a better understanding of the characters' mental states. The slow decline from tense to chaos, their facial expressions, the use of sound, all of it was masterfully executed. It was able to seamlessly craft this sense of unease and build anxiety bit by bit as everything slowly became worse over time. This level of immersion is hard to pull off, especially if you're leaning into the more horror aspect of things. It did it so well that almost all anime aren't able to capture it well. For that brief period of time, I genuinely forgot I was watching an anime. It was able to capture that sense of helplessness that's so effective in bringing out fear in others. Anime isn't scary, but damn, this got to me. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the video, liking and subscribing would mean a lot. ReZero never fails to deliver, and the direction of season 4 is honestly amazing. Even if you didn't happen to be scared by this scene, you can at least appreciate how well crafted it was to create that sense of fear. If you want to see more ReZero content, let me know down in the comments below. But anyways, that's all I have to say for now. See ya.